Hi, this is Randy Wimmer with Government Contracting Academy, and the most frequent question that I receive is, hey, how do I know if the government contracting industry is right for me? Well, this is my answer to them. It depends on your answers to the following questions. Do you want to be in an industry that buys any and every possible thing that you'd ever want to sell? Because that's the federal government. The federal government is the world's largest customer. They buy literally everything, from ice sculptures to aircraft carriers. Whatever you're selling, they're buying in sufficient quantities to make you stupid rich. Do you want to be in a market space that actually has a small business set-aside program? I don't know of any other major customer that has that. You know, it's not like Ronald McDonald's is standing outside of his restaurant pointing to New Guy's Burgers down the street, diverting 23% of his customers to a small business. That's not happening in any other industry other than the federal government marketplace. You don't have to compete against these massive entrenched companies. You only have to compete against companies your own size, new and small businesses. 23% of the awardable budget, and we are talking about the awardable budget being about $750 billion a year, and 23% is going to, guess who? Small businesses in the form of prime contracts. It's even better than that, because even the big contracts that are given to Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin and IBM and all those, they have to give 29.34% of that contract to small businesses in the form of subcontracts. So it's even better than the small business set aside that everybody thinks, which is 23%. And then the numbers. Do you want to play a lottery game where you have odds of 1 in 15, 1 in 10, 1 in 7, or even 1 in 1 odds of becoming wealthy? The government deals with such large numbers that all you have to do is just win one large prime contract, and you've created generational wealth for your family. You really have. My first prime contract award was for $15 million, and I maintained about a 35% profit margin, pocketed about $5 million off of that one contract. You know what my odds of winning were? 1 in 7. There were 6 other bidders. I had a 1 in 7 odds of literally pocketing $5 million in my investment portfolio. It's crazy. It's the best lottery game going. I have a colleague, she was the only bidder on a contract. She became wealthy that way. She had 1 in 1 odds. She had a 100% probability of becoming wealthy by bidding. And that's more common than what you may think, only having one bidder. But wait, there's even more reasons where federal government contracting may be the best market space for you as an entrepreneur. You get to play pin the tail on the donkey. The donkey tells you exactly what he needs. He says, I have a budget to buy a tail. All you got to do is design a tail and put it where you know I need it. And it's that simple. That is federal government contracting. The government, they release a budget that says how much money that they're spending and what they're spending it on, and then they take that budget and they chunk it down into bite-sized pieces that can get really massive, and they say, hey, I need this work performed, and they'll release a request for proposal. And all you have to do is provide a solution to the needs that they've identified in the request for proposal. They tell you exactly what they need, and there's money behind it. So what you do is you find a donkey, and there's thousands, tens of thousands of donkeys walking around that need a tail. You just got to pick the donkey that's closest to you and who wants a tail that's closest to the one that you can provide, and stick it on that donkey. Because at any given time, there's about 30,000 requests for proposals that are active in various stages of solicitation in the federal government. You just got to pick the one that you can do. What that does is that eliminates the guessing game. Most entrepreneurs fail because they guess wrong. They guess about what the customer either wants or needs or are willing to spend money on. They guess wrong. What do I mean by that? Well, right now we're facing a national obesity crisis. There's not enough healthy fast food options available to most people. And if you charter a survey to find out what the potential customers really want, every single one of them will say, oh, of course I want healthier fast food options. Now that's what they're going to tell you. So you're going to say, hey, this is a pretty damn solid entrepreneurial guess to go out there and provide a healthier fast food option. So you do that. You call it Salad Vantage Restaurant. I mean, you launch that restaurant and all of a sudden you're seeing people who just previously stated how desperately that they wanted healthier fast food options. They're walking past your restaurants and buying burgers still. Why? Because they like burgers better than do salads. They do. So you quickly realize that and you say, oh my God, I can't believe this. So you relaunch your restaurant chain as Bob's Big Boy Burritos, and you're just praying that you've done it fast enough to stay in business. Do you want to be in an industry or market space that has traditional sales, where you've got salespeople calling up customers, doing the hard sales pitch, doing cold calling, doing those hard sales meetings? Or would you rather do all of your sales behind your computer writing a better proposal? My very first prime contract, I never even met the customer until the kickoff brief after it was awarded. If it's not in a proposal, it's not evaluated. That's how you sell. You write a more competitive proposal. Do you want to be in a resilient economy? The U.S. federal government is not only the world's largest customer, it is also the most resilient one. And what do I mean by that? Well, when the economy is doing well, revenues are all increased above the board. People are making more, they're taxed more. And now the government has more tax dollars to spend. They're not going to give that money back to you. They're not going to cut taxes. They're going to take that money and they're going to spend the hell out of it. And how do they spend these dollars? They're buying things through contractors. So that's where that money's coming from. But what if the economy is doing badly? What if it's doing poorly? Well, look at the 2008 housing market collapse. The economy was on the cusp of just like tanking. What did the government do? They injected a stimulus package back into the economy. How did they do that? Through government spending. They did the same thing with COVID. The economy's tanking, so what do? They inject a massive infrastructure package into the economy. Where does that go? Contractors. The funny thing about it is no matter how good I say it is today, people don't believe me that it's going to stay that way. I did a webinar a couple years ago, and I said, hey, the government's just spending and spending and spending. Look at the curve on that thing. It keeps on going up higher and higher and higher. And they said, well, yeah, you're just only showing a very specific time in history where the spending is an anomaly. It was too conservative. Right now, we are spending over $6.5 trillion as a federal government. The federal government is without question the best industry for first-time entrepreneurs. What do I mean by that? Well, it gives you the highest probability of creating generational wealth, in my opinion. So how is that done? Well, you get to a situation where you can competitively bid on massive prime contracts. Usually that entails you have to have at least one subcontract, one tiny past performance, and you can control your own destiny and start bidding on large prime contracts. I'm even going to give you ridiculously conservative odds of winning. I'm going to say you only have a 1 in 10 chance of winning. Now everybody says, well, why in the world am I going to do this, Randy? Why am I going to bid on these contracts when I got a 90% chance of losing? Well, because you got a 10% chance of winning it. And you can't look at an individual bid. You got to look at it as a strategy. Say, I'm going to bid on massive contracts every 2 months. Every 2 months for the next 2 years. You know what that would be? That'd be 12 bids. Okay? Commit to it for just 2 years. After your first bid, you had a 10% probability of winning it. After your second bid, you had a 19% chance of having won one or the other. After 3 bids, you have a 27% chance of having won 1, 2, or 3 of them. After 4 bids, you had a 34% chance of winning one of them. After 5 bids, a 41% chance, and so on and so forth. You get up to 12 bids, you have a 72% chance of becoming rich. It is the best industry in the world.